Chapter 336, The Mountain Chiefs. Today was a beautiful sunny and mild day in Bretel City. The 4 city gates had been properly repaired and cleaned up. Aside from the potholes in front of the city gates that temporarily couldn't be restored to their original state, the terrifying scenery from several days ago had vanished without a trace. The 5 mountain chiefs in the surrounding areas brought some of their brothers and sisters to Bretel City under the warm sunshine. The earth-shaking happenings in Bretel City a few days ago had spread throughout the surrounding area for dozens of miles. It was easy to see how fierce the battle has been from the deep scars on the city gates when the mountain chiefs arrived. Through the information they had received from Dick, who was also a mountain man, they instantly understood the situation that had arisen several days ago. They were now in awe and more respectful towards the newly appointed young city lord of Bretel. Among them, Fulkin of Mount Taki had long since witnessed Han Sha'o's powerful might. He'd even made a gesture of goodwill before the fighting had started. Otherwise, Falk wouldn't have been able to easily transport the large amount of siege equipment back to the city that night. As for the other 4 mountain chiefs, they all behaved and came docilely to the city lord's mansion under Dick's guidance. The new changes in appearance of Bretel City along the way left a deep impression on them. The magic crystal cannons, war chariots and other equipment carried overwhelming momentum and looked much fiercer after enduring the terrors of battle. The soldiers welcoming them along the way may have been the same soldiers of Bretel City, but the presence these soldiers exuded now gave them a strange feeling. Having survived such a brutal battle, these soldiers were no longer timid and cowardly like they had been in the past. Their armor shone brilliantly and their bearings were cold and calm with a faint brutal killing air. Are these people the same tattered soldiers in the past who ran even faster than the civilians? Some mountain chiefs couldn't help but inwardly wonder when they saw the drastic changes in these soldiers. As they stood before the main gates of the city lord's mansion, the mountain chiefs saw some smiling civilians take it upon themselves to clean up the surrounding roads. There were also some beautiful girls and women shyly gathered around the front of the city lord's mansion, chattering and laughing in low voices. The mountain chiefs felt that Bretel City had become extremely different. His lordship isn't someone who can be provoked. Zack, you shouldn't run your mouth. It won't end well if you offend his lordship. Dick was quite familiar with the mountain chiefs. Knowing that Zack was the most rude and careless of the bunch, Dick had constantly warned him along the way. Dick, old pal, you've been running your mouth more and more nowadays. I remember that you used to be a man of few words before. When did you become so long-winded? Zack was a short, sturdy man. It was unknown whether or not his skin was as black as charcoal due to year-round mining. Elder cousin Dick, is this city lord truly as powerful as you say? Or are you deliberately exaggerating? A female mountain chief called Delia spoke up. She had inherited the leadership of Mount Silk from her father. Delia had a high nose, a typical feature of the mountain people, and a beautiful pair of straight, long and slender legs. She was around 173 centimeters tall, quite a bit taller than the average woman. Delia's appearance was just as charming as her body. Her wheat-colored skin shone with a healthy luster, her eyes wild while still preserving the curiosity of a young girl. Her curvy body was covered simply by some leather armor at the important parts of the chest and belly. However, her arms and legs were both exposed, with a valuable dagger sheathed on her left calf. She very much had her own sense of style. Both Zack and a young mountain chief Kent next to him revealed traces of a fervent expression upon hearing Delia's words. It seemed that they were very interested in Delia. In a place where beautiful women were scarce like Bretel City, Delia quickly became the focus of many men's attention. However, Delia was a senior swordsman in addition to holding the mining rights to Mount Silk. No ordinary person would have the right to capture her. Delia had the frank personality of a mountain woman and was like a thorny rose. In a place where she was the focus of local men, Delia liked to use her advantages to play off the men who lusted for her. However, she never spoke encouragingly to any man, nor did any man have the ability to take advantage of her. Dick was Delia's distant relative. He could only smile wryly at this wildcat of a distant little cousin of his and warn her, you'd best behave. Don't try your tricks in front of his lordship. He's not someone you can handle. Humphrey, just a young man. What's so great about him? Exclamation mark. Delia pouted and snorted gently. That's what she said, but she had actually become even more interested in Han Sha'o. All right. thought. Hurry up, don't keep the city lord waiting for too long. Adelman, the oldest mountain chief, abruptly opened his mouth with a light scold. Adelman held the most prestige amongst the 5 mountain chiefs. He belonged to the same generation as the grandfathers of Delia, Zack and Kent, and they'd always banded up to resist the bandits' assaults. They had also kept in touch with each other over the years. Whenever the mountain chiefs fathered together, Adelman often gave guidance to the rest as their senior. The others had no more words to say upon hearing Adelman's words. Only Dick was summarizing some of Han Sha'o's recent matters to the others in a low voice, particularly Han Sha'o's personality. Dick narrated in detail about how Han Sha'o had personally killed a soldier who dared to defy him when he'd just arrived in Bretel City. The mountain chiefs understood very well from Dick's previous messages that this new city lord wasn't one to be trifled with. When Dick described Han Sha'o's cruel and ruthless style, they all felt some apprehension in their hearts. As for Delia, she became even more curious about Han Sha'o. Everyone best not to provoke this person. I don't care what you do, our Mount Talai will definitely have a good relationship with him anyway. We don't have any intention of making things difficult for him. Fulkin had planned to get along with Han Sha'o after personally seeing Han Sha'o destroy Troda in a fight. Otherwise he wouldn't have had taken the initiative to descend the mountain and help Falk, doing Han Sha'o a favor. Fulkin was the most stubborn amongst the 5 mountain chiefs. It had been years since he'd been willing to serve someone. When even Fulkin had made his stand before he'd met Han Sha'o, the fear and awe in the others' hearts instantly increased. They had walked past broad stone steps after a while as Dick finally led the 5 mountain chiefs to the banquet area in the city lord's mansion. Han Sha'o had retained all of the chefs that he'd recruited in the city lord's mansion last time. The banquet was held in the merchant's living room. Dorcas, Fogg, Chester and Jack had arrived ahead of time to wait for the 5 mountain chiefs. Let me introduce to you all, these are my 5 fellow mountain chiefs of the mountain mines around Bretel City. Dick pointed towards the 5 mountain people before introducing Dorcas and the others as well. After Dick finished the introduction of both sides, Fulkin, who'd helped Fogg resist the bandits last time, laughed heartily as they gave each other a hug full of heroic spirit. Fulkin said in a loud voice, "Falk, my brave brother, I have heard of your amazing exploits even in Mount Talai." As a true knight, Falk gave Fulkin a courteous small smile, his voice warm and friendly. "You overpraise me. I gladly welcome your visit." "Oh, where is your city lord?" Zack shifted his gaze around. He was waiting for Dick to introduce the young miraculous city lord, only to find that Dick wasn't playing along. Dorcas swept a cold glance at Zack, shouting in a low, somewhat sinister voice, "Your city lord? Do you mean that you people aren't under his lordship's jurisdiction?" Although Dorcas' strength wasn't strong, the presence he'd accumulated through the intense slaughter of battle couldn't be looked down upon. His low shout was dark and chilling, like a sharp sword edge. "Shut up, Zack." Ever since Dorcas had been brought back by Han Sha'o, he'd gradually revealed his talent during the several battles. Dorcas had become the soldier's object of trust, his deterrence of his presence slowly outstripping even that of Fox. Dick understood full well that this person's loyalty to Han Sha'o was somewhat blindly unreasonable, so he hurriedly scolded Zack. The mountain chiefs around Bretel City had always looked down on the city lords. Thus, they naturally wouldn't show any respect in their usual conversation. Old habits died hard, immediately angering Dorcas. With his 190 centimeters tall body, Dorcas stood there like a sharp unsheathed sword. No one could ignore his presence. It was a pity that his determined face currently wore cold indifference, an expression that rejected people from coming within a 1,000-mile radius of him, making him unapproachable. "Our apologies, we haven't been respectful enough because the previous city lords had been incompetent." Zack's mouth is unable to adapt so quickly. "I think that he didn't mean to offend his lordship. I hope you will overlook this." The old Adelman hurriedly spoke up in an effort to mediate, surreptitiously giving Zack several eye signals. Dick and Fulkin also winked and glared fiercely at Zack, motioning for the latter to quickly show a respectful attitude so as to avoid making Dorcas unhappy. Zack was crude but not stupid. Even though he still held some grievances in his heart, Zack ultimately bowed when the 3 looked at him and said in a small voice, "I'm sorry." Dorcas threw Zack a glance and snorted coldly, not saying saying another word. He picked up his wineglass before going to seek out Jack to discuss about needing more war equipment, not continuing to pursue Zack's disrespectful manners anymore. "Falk, where's his lordship?" Dick inwardly heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing that the most unsociable Dorcas had taken his leave. He then turned to ask Falk, who'd been chatting and laughing with Fulkin. His lordship said that it was rare for him to have guests, so he wanted to personally prepare some good food, telling us to stay here and wait for him for a bit," Falk explained laughingly. He stared fixedly at Delia, not hiding his interest for her. "Another stinky pervert." Delia curled her lips somewhat pridefully. She threw Falk a glare before turning her head away, inwardly coming to this judgment about him in her heart. When Delia turned her line of sight away from Falk, her eyes followed the indifferent Dorcas with some interest. She discovered some interesting points in his seemingly forever unapproachable face. It seemed Delia paid more attention to men who didn't pay any attention to her. The smooth-tongued Night Falk humorous Chester and Dick chatted with the 5 mountain chiefs. All of the 5 mountain chiefs were both fearful and respectful towards the new city lord. No one dared to be carelessly unfriendly in their manner of speech. They sipped from their wine glasses while gathering more information about the city lord from Falk and Chester. The young Zack and Ken were still extraordinarily curious about the rumors regarding Han Sha'o's kidnapping of the Grand Duke Valentina. Chester and Dick were no gentlemen either and paid no heed to Han Sha'o's heroic image, narrating their self-confirmed true understandings to the two with low perverted laughs. Delia, who wasn't very far from them, was also very curious. Upon hearing the 4 perverts' sturdy laughs, Delia paid attention to their conversation and accidentally heard some things she shouldn't have heard. She couldn't help but blush to her ears, spitting in contempt and scolding in a low voice, "I didn't think this city lord would be so lewd. Humphrey, it seems he's much more lustful and perverted than the men in Bretel City." Hey, his lordship is truly an expert in this aspect. The dirty men seem to think nothing of being brutal to a notoriously vicious woman. It wasn't something despicable, and they even felt some glory in it. After Dick and Chester described it once over, the 2 young mountain chiefs all revealed looks of awe, the kind of awe that was much greater than when they had heard about Han Sha'o killing many bandits. This made the eavesdropping Delia despise the 4 of them. She inwardly cursed that men were nothing good. "My apologies to you for being late. The ingredients in Bretel City are too rare. Although I'm a little late, we will be able to enjoy some exotic food." A hearty laugh resounded from within the room suddenly. The handsome, refined Han Sha'o stepped out leisurely from inside. Chapter 337, Complete Acceptance. Even in front of the uncommonly tall mountain people, Han Sha'o's stature of over 190 centimeters exuded a natural deterrence that made him stand out like a crane among a flock of chickens when he walked out of the house. Practicing demonic magic had also given him an evil aura, making him even more attractive. Smiling lightly as he approached, Han Sha'o took out plate after plate of gleaming roasted shiny golden meat from his space ring and placed them onto the table in front of everyone. "Ladies and gentlemen, these are some very rare meats from distant lands that I've taken pains to hunt and prepare. Would you like to have a taste?" Pulling all the dishes out, Han Sha'o smiled as he invited everyone to try a piece. Jack was pulled to the other side by Dorcas to discuss military budgets. But when he smelled the mouth-watering fragrance of roasted meat, something he hadn't tasted in so long, his belly couldn't control its desire for good food. Jack quickly threw off the pestering Dorcas and came running over. Dorcas was a fanatic with a fiery thirst for war. His only interest was slowly polishing his training methods to create an even more powerful explosive force out of the soldiers under his command. Therefore Dorcas became especially interested in little fatty Jack since he was in charge of the budget. Dorcas used all the tricks at his disposal to pry more and more money for equipment out of Jack. To be sure, Jack was a little scared at first, but after a while grew used to Dorcas. Now he gave as good as he got in those little discussions with Dorcas, leaving him with just what was required. "You little brat, hey!" Han Sha'o shook his head when he saw Jack quickly run over, then spoke to the 5 mountain chiefs in a relaxed manner. "No worries everyone, hurry up and try some. These things aren't delicacies you'd find normally." Even Fulkin, who was the only one among the mountain chiefs who knew Han Sha'o, felt some fear and trepidation when he saw that the latter wasn't aloof and lofty as they'd imagined. He actually became even more cautious. Jack was most familiar with Han Han Sha-oh since he'd been Han Sha-oh's only friend over the years. Therefore he wasn't as polite as others. He used a fork to stab into a large piece of fragrant tender meat and chomped down on it. As he chewed he let out a surprised exclamation of praise. So tasty. What is this meat? It's really so fragrant. This is a manticora's forelimb. Tastes good, doesn't it? Han Sha-oh answered with a smile. He pointed to the dishes one by one as he introduced them. This one here is the tail of a deep water venom python. It's the most chewy. That dish over there is the brain of a harpy. You have to try to know how it tastes. And this is ... Let alone the 5 mountain chiefs. Even Falk, Dorcas and the others grew wide-eyed and open-mouthed with astonishment as Han Sha-oh's introduction went on. They couldn't understand how the meat in front of them could possibly come from high-ranked magic creatures like those described. Hunting magic creatures of that rank would require a team of experienced, skilled adventurers. If any ordinary person attempted to do so, they would only face death. Furthermore, there are no such creatures around Bretel City. Where on earth did he go to hunt? Oh, these creatures are not something an ordinary person could hunt. The city lord really is an incredible freak. No one needed to look at each other to know that everyone present was feeling the same, gracing Han Sha-oh with a strange look. What? ? This is the forelimb of a manticore. ? Jack jumped in fright, the fork in his hand still holding a large piece of jiggling meat. He'd heard once that a single swipe from a manticore could tear a person in half. He couldn't help but cry out when he linked that image to the lovely piece of meat he was chewing on. Indeed. How does it taste? Han Sha-oh laughed out loud, staring at Jack. The taste is no problem, but when I imagine the scene of the manticore tearing up people and the ground using its front claws, I'm still scared. Jack had some lingering fear, his eyes rolling as he looked over at the delicious dish. He seemed to want to eat but couldn't overcome the pressure in his heart. Han Sha-oh glanced at the others and discovered their odd expressions. He let out a laugh, amused. What can it be that you guys don't dare to eat? Hee, I hunted these specifically to serve you. Are you not giving me face? Dorcas silently walked towards the harpy dish under Han Sha-oh's watchful eyes. He forked a large piece of charred black meat and swallowed it with a heavy expression. What's the big deal, humph? To Han Sha-oh's surprise, Delia snorted, pouting as she picked up her knife and fork to start on the deep water venom python. She chose a piece of short rib with some cartilage in it, chewing it carefully. As she chewed that morsel, Delia's brows began to relax. She began to excitedly waver her cutlery, cutting a bigger piece. As she chewed, she praised, it tastes really good. Hey, the deep water venom python is extremely poisonous. Even I don't know if I've prepared it properly. Big trouble could come my way if by chance something had gone wrong. Han Sha-oh's lips curled as he muttered to himself, looking at Delia chew voraciously with her small mouth. Delia had thrown her image to the wind as she ate heartily. Her small ears happened to catch Han Sha-oh's mumbling. Her lively actions immediately froze stiff. Her delicate red cheeks paling, she stared at Han Sha-oh and her voice trembled. What did you say? Nothing, hee. The deep water venom python is extremely poisonous. If I hadn't prepared it properly, you probably wouldn't be conscious by now. A loud laugh escaped Han Sha-oh as he explained it. Damn it, you even scared me. Delia glared ferociously at Han Sha-oh but didn't pursue the matter. She focused all of her attention on the deep water venom python dish. The other 4 mountain chiefs as well as Falk, Dick and Chester had reacted by now, particularly little fatty Jack, who took off with an entire plate. These rare dishes were originally hard to even catch a glimpse of, let alone savor like this. Yet Han Sha-oh had brought forth quite a large amount of these delicacies. However, there were more than enough people present. With the mountain people's famously large appetite, Delia was afraid that the others would wipe out the remaining dishes while she wasted time talking. Therefore she no longer paid attention to Han Sha-oh and instead rejoined the tussle over the food. The 6 dishes were spotless after some time, the maniacs having cleaned off the entire table. Some even held onto their forks as if they hadn't gotten enough. On one hand, the food was delicious beyond belief, causing them to eat quickly. But the rare ingredients were also delicacies in their own right, which was an additional incentive to devour the food. When the servants hired by Han Sha-oh set up the food that the chefs had diligently cooked, the guests felt them to be dull and bland. They now despised the ordinary food. Their palates satiated after food and drink, the bunch followed Han Sha-oh to the meeting chamber, leaving the mess for the servants to clean up. Unlike the antisocial image that the five mountain chiefs had expected, Han Shao always maintained a smile, occasionally cracking jokes. Everyone was now a bit less cautious and more warm when they sat down now. The exotic food had undoubtedly played a large role in this. Han Shao sat in the center as befitting his position. He smiled and glanced at the five mountain chiefs. Seeing them settle down properly one by one with restrained smiles, he nodded and said, "Don't be nervous. I've invited you here to discuss a matter of mutual benefit. You are all people from Bretel City. Maybe the former city lord couldn't hold your trust, so you gradually severed your connections with the city. This time His Majesty has bestowed Bretel City to me, and I will not let the city bear the brunt of the ravaging from the 7 Grand Duchies and other bandit groups. Not only Bretel City but the 5 mines of your group will be protected as well. From now on I hope that we can join forces and develop the city. Your lordship, I believe you can bring peace to Bretel City. I, the chief of Mount Tail, I am willing to be at your lordship's disposal. I know that you will not treat us poorly." Fulkin had already made his decision. He knew that Han Shao alone could severely injure Mount Tailai. Seeing the impressive array of defenses that Bretel City boasted had simply solidified his decision. Han Shao had already expected Fulkin's good fault will. When he heard these words, he said with a smile, "Many thanks to you, Fulkin. When Falk faced the threat of the bandits last time, your Mount Tailai had lent a helping hand. This lord has remembered this in my heart. Your lordship is too polite. I held the former city lord in disdain because he ignored his own citizens. However, you are completely different from him. As an original member of Bretel City, this is what I should do. Not to mention, since your lordship helped us break the siege against Mount Tailai last time, Troda will never come back to disturb us again." Fulkin was very sensible. Since he had decided to cooperate with Han Shao, he spared no effort in forming a better relationship. Seeing Fulkin make his stand, the other 4 mountain chiefs couldn't help but look at each other. They knew in their hearts that this newly appointed city lord excelled in all aspects. Their only concern was that Han Shao would take over their mines. This was the reason why they weren't ready to compromise. The mines were their main source of income and also the basis for their survival. According to what Han Shao had said, everything around Bretel City belonged to the city lord. Did that not mean their mines also belonged to him? Han Shao slightly smiled. He looked at the 4 mountain chiefs and said, "You 4, are you willing to support me?" Their 4 hearts jumped when his words resounded. The 3 young mountain chiefs didn't speak and focused their gaze on the oldest Adelman. Adelman was silent for a while, then bit the bullet and spoke respectfully to Han Shao, "Your lordship, we are your people. We certainly want Bretel City to develop, but we do not know how we could be of help to your lordship. We hope that you will clarify this for us." Han Shao smiled, nodding his head. "Since you already admit to be the citizens of Bretel, this is now easy to handle. To be honest, Bretel City currently is not lacking anything except for manpower. The merchants deliver a steady stream of materials. I also have enough gold coins to support the city's operation. Only the problem of the lack of population can't be solved in a short amount of time. I know that there are 30 to 40,000 people around the mines on your mountains. Miners excluded, that total includes a large portion of elderly women and children. Their living conditions near the 5 mines are not ideal. They only left Bretel due to the incompetence of the former city lord. They did so because Bretel wasn't secure. But now that Bretel is very safe, if you 5 are willing to let them come down from the mountain, there are a lot of vacant houses in the city and living conditions are much better for them. What do you think?" Adelman was moved listening to Han Shao's words. He knew in his heart that it was indeed difficult to live in the mountains. Except for the variety of ores from the 5 mines, the trees were sparse, the wildlife had long been hunted, and water needed to be hauled from the foot of the mountain. The miners worked day and night in the mountains just to exchange for some food transported by the merchants. The mountain people lived in the caves all year round without seeing sunlight in order to prevent trades from the bandits. If not for wanting to ensure their own lives, who would want to live like a savage on the mountain? Adelman was genuinely touched for Han Shao to first think of the pitiful mountain people's well-being. He suddenly kowtowed toward Han Shao, speaking in a thick voice as tears spilled without end from his eyes. "I thank the city lord for your good intentions on behalf of all the mountain people. I won't say any more unnecessary words. As long as your lordship can guarantee they will not lack for food and clothing and give them a stable living environment, I will do so without a word, even if your lordship wishes us to hand over the mines." "Elder, please rise." They They are also my people. Giving them a good living environment is what I should do. The 5 mines are the basis for your survival from now on. They are still under your control. There is only one thing: even though we have a lot of siege equipment, there isn't enough manpower to operate them. Once the official army of the 7 Grand Duchies invade, I'm afraid that with just 3,000 city guards we won't be able to control the situation even with many equipment. My only request of you is that you will join us when facing common enemies and help stop them. We will provide enough siege weaponry, as long as we have enough manpower on the city wall. The 7 Grand Duchies can never even dream of breaking our defenses. Are you all willing to work alongside me fighting for the safety of Bretel City and her people? There were no longer any rifts when they had spoken to this point. Adelman had worked hard all his life to resist the constant plundering of the 7 Grand Duchies and bandit troops trying to provide the mountain people with a better life. Han Sha'o's approach didn't conflict with his ideals. Adelman no longer held any traces of hesitation towards Han Sha'o's proposal. He immediately shouted at the 3 young mountain chiefs, "You 3 little babies, why are you not with me?" thanking his lordship for his grace. The 3 young people also no longer held any doubts at this point. Even Fulkin, who'd previously expressed his allegiance, bent one knee down to Han Sha'o. Each made a vow that they would use their everything to defend the safety of Bretel City. Helping each of the mountain chiefs to their feet, Han Sha'o said with a smile, "The last time I went to Mount Talai I saw that your equipment wasn't very good." The bandits left behind tens of thousands of equipment this time. They would occupy too much warehouse space in Bretel City. "Why don't you take them and equip yourself?" The mountain people were hard at work mining ores for many years to trade them all for food and daily necessities, maintaining the basic livelihood of their elderly and children. They simply couldn't spare gold coins for weapons and armor. Some people only had rough iron bars of inferior materials to use. Hearing this, the 5 mountain chiefs remembered the 3,000 shiny armored city guards holding sharp gold-glinted weapons on their way here. They were red in the face with embarrassment when they compared that memory to their own shabbily dressed subordinates. "Many thanks to my lord, many thanks to my lord." Fulkin was first to react, once again falling down on his knees. As Fulkin willingly paid obeisance, the other 4 mountain chiefs did the same with complete willingness. Each were full of excitement and admiration as their eyes looked at Han Sha'o, increasingly convinced. "Ha ha, everyone please stand up. This is just the beginning. I think with gradual development the future of Bretel will bloom for the better." Han Sha'o once again lifted the 5 mountain chiefs up, chuckling merrily. "Woo, there goes hundreds of thousands of gold coins." Only Jack, the finance minister, was sighing painfully. However, his cry didn't garner any attention amidst the joyful cheering of the crowd. Chapter 338, Exploring the Underground World. Again, a large portion of mountain people who had lived around the 5 mines for many years already came down from the mountains under the arrangements of the 5 mountain chiefs and once again returned to Bretel City. The news of the 4 bandit groups' defeat had inadvertently spread throughout the 7 Grand Duchies. The smaller bandit groups wouldn't dare rob Bretel City again. Even the 7 Grand Duchies, who were still locked in conflict, were shocked by this news. Overnight, Bretel City had transformed from a city anyone could bully to a taboo existence, its new status paved by the corpses of 10,000 bandits. When Bretel City was busy preparing for the mountain people, Han Sha'o left Orcus and the others a few instructions, then soundlessly disappeared. All of the magic crystal ores had been used up. These weren't easily acquired either. Although they were unlike the goblin missiles for the war chariots, where they were extremely rare and monopolized by the various empires for use in magical formations, Han Sha'o had already instructed Fabian to acquire some more crystal ores, but now the former also began to think of other ways to obtain crystal ores. Han Sha'o's first thought was of the underground world. The last time he was in the dark forest, he'd heard that this world possessed magic crystal mines. Now that Bretel City had temporarily calmed down, Han Sha'o once again set out for the dark forest by himself. Arriving at the dark forest, Han Sha'o didn't tarry and went straight to the entrance of the underground world. He didn't immediately rush in, but released a Yun demon to sweep a 5-mile radius. After the Yun demon covered the area, Han Sha'o didn't find any traces of the Redbud Knights, which meant they had either stopped probing the underground world or had gone in. He didn't spend too much time hesitating. Han Sha'o hadn't informed the forest trolls this time either and ventured into the underground world alone. alone. After a long winding underground tunnel he gradually reached the depths of the world. Since his power had greatly expanded since the last time he was here, Han Shao only needed 1 hour of uninterrupted flight before officially entering the underground world. There weren't many changes compared to last time. According to the division of the underground world's layers, the lizardmen were 1 layer above Han Shao, while the Dark Dragon City seemed to be a layer below. The underground world had a clear hierarchy. The weakest races lived in the upper layers and the lower a race lived the more powerful it was. According to legend, some races at the very bottom of the underground world resided were so powerful that they were even headaches for the gods. However, those races were said to be cursed. They were bound by an unknown force, forever unable to leave the underground world that was bereft of light all year round. If I knew sooner, I'd have summoned Gilbert here. He's from the underground world and must be familiar with the lizardmen. I could save much effort with him here. Han Shao couldn't help but lament after entering the underground world. He'd forgotten that he had no clue where the lizardmen lived. The underground world was just as vast as the world above ground. The roads were endless, numerous and complicated. If one didn't know the way around here and became lost, they'd be hard pressed to find the way back. Fortunately, Han Shao's memory was astonishing after his brain had been developed by his magic cultivation. He slowly walked along the road where he encountered the lizardmen previously. Last time in the underground world, Han Shao had gotten into a conflict with the Dark Elves. It was due to Gilbert's presence that he'd become familiar with the lizardmen. Just as humans saw the lizardmen to be all alike, in the eyes of the lizardmen all humans looked the same. Han Shao didn't know if the lizardmen could still recognize him. Relying on his memory, Han Shao walked back to where he'd met the lizardmen. He encountered many strange races along the way. There were goblins with gray-blue skin, dark batemen who liked gloomy, humid places, and even dark elves, but he didn't see any lizardmen. The yin demon released by Han Shao was also floating around to find traces of the lizardmen, to no avail even after a long time. When Han Shao entered a dark, humid area, an ear-piercing screech suddenly assaulted his ears. He looked up to discover a mass of black shadows flying towards him, which turned out to be a group of men who could transform into bats. Astonishingly enough, they were trying to attack him. "Human, leave everything you have here and we will consider giving you an easier death." A Batman in the front of the group spoke awkwardly in the common tongue, heading straight for Han Shao's head. The Batemen's bodies were smaller than that of an average human. However, they had umbrella-like pair of wings and sharp claws that humans didn't have. These Batemen liked to live in flocks and were just as infamous as the forest trolls above ground. They wouldn't hold back once they encountered easily bullied individuals and would bare their fangs to tear their prey apart, looting their targets. Han Shao wasn't terrified and instead rejoiced when he saw the Batemen fly out from the spacious, gloomy and damp cave. He sneered evilly, bloody lights shooting out from his 10 fingers that were dancing in the air as if playing an invisible piano. Each light was as sharp as a blade, crisscrossing to form an unavoidable streak of light. As they sunk into the incoming mass of flapping Batemen, agonized, piercing shrieks echoed through the air as they fell. Han Shao actually didn't touch the talking Batman. The latter's small beady eyes gleamed with fierce light as he watched his companions massacred by Han Shao without even the slightest hint of resistance. He turned around quickly, trying to get away from this fiend of disaster. "And where do you think you're running to?" Han Shao lightly shouted, releasing his mental strength. His recently practiced demon's fell soul tremor immediately surged into the Batman. The Batman's body plummeted like a plane fresh out of fuel. He vainly tried to flap his way out of his uncontrolled fall, but smashed into the ground with a thundering impact, leaving him dizzy and disoriented. When the Batman managed to come to, he was greeted with the face of a human smiling diabolically. The Batman's individual power was almost negligible, so he swept his small beady eyes around to see none of his brethren. His wings trembling in his fear, the Batman shrieked in common continental language, "Powerful human mage, please forgive the offense of the slowly petty bat. I beg you to forgive me." "You speak human language very well, otherwise you'd be dead already." Han Shao kicked the Batman into the air when it had just gotten up. Han Shao laughed heartily and didn't wait for the latter to land before kicking the Batman around like a rubber ball. "Good, I now forgive your offenses." Han Shao stopped stopped his torturing when he saw that the Batman was on the verge of falling apart, smiling merrily. "Now you'll answer each question I ask. I don't mind dismantling your fragile skeleton if your answers aren't good enough." The best way to deal with these Batmen was to be brutal and domineering. This kind of race bullied the weak and feared the strong. They would bite the weak without a care but would be meek and honest in front someone stronger. The way Han Shao handled this Batman made him toss away any idea of fleeing or lying. It responded in a shrill voice, "Powerful human mage, my answers will definitely satisfy you. Us Batemen are aware of all happenings in this underground world." "Very good," nodded Han Shao. He smilingly asked, "Did a large group of humans recently enter the underground world? If so, where did they go? Where are the lizardmen?" "I heard the lizardmen recently discovered a magic crystal mine. Do you know its location?" Just as the scared stiff Batman heard Han Shao's question, he immediately answered, "So you are also a treasure hunter?" "The lizardmen have indeed discovered a magic crystal mine." There were many humans entering the underground world recently, but the biggest group seems to be a night brigade and their goal is definitely the lizardmen's mine. "Are you with that group?" "Cut the nonsense, just answer my questions." Han Shao secretly rejoiced. The Redbud Knights had already entered the underground world indeed. This might be related to the threats from the Golden Dragon, otherwise Kelt wouldn't have been in such a hurry. Yes, Lord Mage, please ask." The Batman started in fright and spoke up hastily. "Any other humans besides that group of knights? Also, where are the lizardmen and the magic crystal mine? Has anything major happened recently?" Han Shao continued his line of questioning. There were also several human groups in addition to those knights, but their members didn't number many and their occupations were too random, so us Batemen don't know the specifics. Only the lizardmen know the magic crystal mine's location. "I only know where the lizardmen live, honest," the Batman quickly answered. Staring sharply at the Batman for a while, Han Shao realized that this Batman only seemed to know so much. He casually asked some more questions. The information the Batman knew was limited indeed, so Han Shao ordered after a short interrogation, "Good, take me to the lizardman's place and I will spare your life." The Batman didn't dare to mess around after being threatened by Han Shao. It led him through the complex winding road straight to the area where the lizardmen lived. One had to admit the roads underground were winding with countless twists and turns, and even Han Shao with his astounding memory was confused along the way. Had it not been for the Batman, a native to this underground world, leading the way, Han Shao simply couldn't have found the lizardmen. After more than an hour through who knew how many deep caves, twists and turns, the Batman finally stopped at a valley. He pointed to a densely caved area ahead and said to Han Shao, "That's where the lizardmen live. They like caves even more than us. The large and small caves you're seeing are their houses." The underground world lizardmen really live in such a place? When he saw the Batman's beady eyes flicker, Han Shao was suspicious again and asked for confirmation. "Powerful Lord Mage, most of the lizardmen gather in this place. The total number of lizardmen far exceeds your imagination. They are scattered in thousands of such areas all over the underground world." "You won't make me take you to every single one, would you?" Seeing Han Shao squint at him, the Batman hastily yelped as it couldn't stop chills from running down its body. Han Shao had actually harbored this idea. However, the Yin Demon suddenly discovered a human sneaking around. This human's outfit was a bit familiar, so Han Shao turned to the panicked Batman, waving his hand as if swatting away a fly, and said, "Scram, your role here is done." The Batman felt that it had been pardoned when it heard Han Shao say this. However, its movements were awkward, tiny eyes staring fixedly at Han Shao while it cautiously flapped his wings backwards. Seeing this odd action, Han Shao asked with surprise, "I already told you to leave. Why are you still here?" "I'm afraid you'd kill me to keep me silent." "The whole underground world knows you humans are the worst at keeping promises." Contrary to Han Shao's expectations, this pathetic Batman looked at him pathetically, answering fearfully. Han Shao was stunned, then snapped, "You are worthless to me. I won't waste my mental power if killing you don't bring me the slightest bit of benefit." The Batman finally heaved a sigh of relief when it heard this. Not daring to stay next to Han Shao anymore, it flapped its wings and turned its body quickly, fleeing far away. The sneaky human was hiding behind the boulders. Han Shao was certain they were from the Dark Mantle when he saw their outfits and hoods. Dark Mantle members usually wore this concealing loose outfit whenever they were conducting missions. Han Shao jumped knocked out like an arrow towards the colleague hiding behind Grey Builder after the Batman had left. They were blending in perfectly one with the rock. Han Sha-Oh didn't make a sound to alert this person as he approached. When his big hand patted the colleague, the latter was startled like birds scared by the twang of a bowstring and jumping from their dormant position. They quickly started chant out 2 fireballs. This colleague was wearing a hood which concealed their face, but the magic chanting exposed their identity as female. The only thing visible were her eyes, which were full of horror. As the fireballs blasted out, she suddenly exclaimed, "Brian!" Han Sha-Oh waved his hand. 2 inconspicuous purple flashes shot out in the blink of an eye and the 2 fireballs were scattered into sparks. Han Sha-Oh assessed this concealed fire mage with some astonishment, then asked with surprise, "You know me?" Pulling off the hood to reveal a familiar youthful face, it was the fire journeyman mage Chrissy, whom he'd met last time in the Dark Mantle headquarters. The short-haired Chrissy gave a surprised cheer, then waving her hands around as she quickly explained, "I'm Chrissy. We met last time at Dark Mantle headquarters. Have you forgotten me?" With Han Sha-Oh's memory, even a glance was enough to never forget someone's face. Chrissy was no exception. Hearing her words, he nodded his head with a smile and replied, "So it's you. I didn't expect to meet you again here in this underground world. What a coincidence." Yes, really a coincidence. "I heard you are the city lord of Bretel." "Whoa, you are really formidable already, Account." "I'm right, shouldn't you be at Bretel? Why are you here? Can it be you are also in on this mission? If so, that's really great. I heard you even defeated Lee Hicane." Chrissy wouldn't stop once she opened her mouth. Question after question were asked quick succession in her sweet crispy voice. As the fully excited Chrissy seemed to have no intention of stopping, Han Sha-Oh had no choice but to give a slight cough, cutting off her endless interrogation. Chrissy, can you take me to the person in charge first?" "Oh, if you know where Lady Emily is, it's best to take me to see her directly." Han Sha-Oh finally got the chance to ask when he saw Chrissy's blabbering take a pause. Han Sha-Oh had known that Cecilia was in charge of this mission last time in the Dark Forest. Emily was acting as her assistant and he'd be able to obtain all the necessary information if he found her. "No problem, I know where Madame Emily is. I will take you to see her right now." Chrissy readily agreed after she took off her hood. "Then many thanks to you, Chrissy," Han Sha-Oh said smilingly. Chrissy didn't continue to probe around for the lizardman's movement, but cheerfully acted as Han Sha-Oh's guide, turning left and right on the complicated roads while telling him about the current status of the underground world. Han Sha-Oh smiled lightly as he listened to Chrissy talk. Every now and then he asked some questions about a few things he was interested in, gradually grasping the current situation in the underground world. Chapter 339, It was indeed me. Han Sha-Oh learned from Chrissy that the Redbud Knights had indeed traveled to the underground world, and the Celt had already launched one attack against the lizardmen already. The lizardmen naturally couldn't stand up to the attacks of the Redbud Knights, but there was an extraordinary presence living in the magical crystal or mine that the lizardmen guarded. A dreadfully fierce battle had seemed to take place when Celt and the Redbud Knights entered the mine. A strange entity living within the mine had suddenly turned very terrifying, and even one of the top 10 knight troops on the continent hadn't come off on top in the exchange. The Redbud Knights decided to furl their banners and cover their drums after failing 3 times. They were now hiding in some cavern, and not even the Dark Mantle knew where they were holing up. They had concentrated their attention on the area that the lizardmen were living in and was observing every move that occurred there. "Brian, why have you come to the underground world? Are you also part of this mission?" Chrissy asked Han Sha-Oh excitedly after describing the current situation to him. Han Sha-Oh shook his head with a smile. "I was passing through the dark forest and happened to fight with Celt of the Redbud Knights earlier. I've come for him." Even Celt's green dragon had been killed, so he must hate Han Sha-Oh to the bones, not to mention that the latter had chopped off one of Celt's ears. This was the kind of grudge that demanded retribution no matter what. To Han Sha-Oh, Celt was an enormous threat who controlled the Redbud Knights. Not only was his strength uncommon, but he was an important national figure as well. There would be no end of trouble once Celt learned of Han Sha-Oh's identity. Therefore Han Sha-Oh had come to the Dark Forest this time from Bretel City to see if there was a way he could obtain more magical crystal cores, and also to see if he could fully uproot the problem that was Celt, to prevent future troubles for him after he walked out of the Dark Forest. "What, you fought Commander Kelt of the Redbud Knights. Chrissy suddenly shrieked and looked at Han Shao incredulously. She immediately followed up with, "I heard that someone killed Kelt's green dragon and even one of his ears was sliced off. Was that you?" The light of intense curiosity shone in Chrissy's eyes as she fixed her gaze onto Han Shao. She seemed to have guessed something. It was rather Han Shao who hadn't anticipated that the news would spread so quickly. He was quite surprised by Chrissy. They were both hiding behind some red plants with enormous banana-shaped leaves. This was likely the temporary meeting place of the Dark Mantle for this mission. A low shout traveled in before Han Shao had time to respond to, "Is it?" Chrissy snapped out of her curiosity when she heard this voice and also called back in a low voice, "It's 3 Dark Star Chrissy." "Is it Wallace?" "So it's Chrissy. Come on over." The voice wasn't as nervous as before. It laughed softly instead, with a young face popping out from behind a few red leaves. When the boy lifted his head and saw Han Shao, he was immediately a bit unhappy. "Why is it you? What are you doing here?" The last time Cecilia had tried to use the forest trolls to block the pursuit of Kelt and the Redbud Knights, Han Shao had forcefully prevented her from doing so. The other Dark Mantle members with Cecilia then had expressed their furious dissatisfaction. The one called Wallace was likely one of the shrouded figures then, which was why he was immediately unhappy upon seeing Han Shao. When Chrissy saw that Wallace's expression had changed for the worse, she thought that Wallace didn't know who Han Shao was and hastened to explain. "What are you doing, Wallace?" "Brian is one of us. Haven't you heard of his name before?" "HMPH. He tripped up our plans at a critical moment. I don't think he's one of ours at all." Wallace was quite loyal to Cecilia as he snorted derisively. "Chrissy, take me to Emily." Han Shao wasn't overly concerned with an angry Wallace and only spoke to Chrissy at his side. "Apologies, we don't welcome people like you here." The young man named Wallace suddenly drew himself straight from beneath the red banana-shaped leaf and blocked Han Shao's path with a cold face. Han Shao flicked a glance at Wallace and went on his way, not caring about Wallace's obstruction at all. When he reached the latter's position and saw that he had no intent of moving out of the way, Han Shao slowly reached out a hand to send a surge of strength into Wallace's body. The force behind the strength caused Wallace to stagger. He backed up a few times in a bedraggled fashion before finally falling on his butt on the ground. There were a few traces of humiliation mixed in with the anger on his face as he shouted, "What do you want to do? Whether or not I can go in isn't up to you. You're just a small Dark Star envoy and have no right or strength to stop me. Just don't try then." Han Shao expressed the most direct kind of contempt and looked back at Chrissy, who was coming over to try and smooth things over. He smiled. "Let's go and see Emily." Chrissy was stunned in her tracks by Han Shao's display of strength and then turned her head with an exclamation of surprise. "It must be you. The mysterious person who killed Kelt's green dragon and sliced off his ear must be you." Wallace had been about to stand up and challenge Han Shao again when his face suddenly went as white as paper. His knees weakened as he was so frightened he fell into a sitting position. Han Shao chuckled softly and flicked his eyes contemptuously at Wallace, urging Chrissy onward. "Speak no more of this. I need to see Emily urgently." Han Shao's lack of denial was a subtle admission to things. Chrissy's gaze at Han Shao was full of worship as she ran over excitedly to Han Shao. When she passed by Wallace on the ground, she said a bit apologetically, "Sorry Wallace, you don't have much at the moment either, so I'll be going now." Chrissy no longer looked at the ashen-faced Wallace after she spoke, hopping over to Han Shao's side and saying enthusiastically, "Let's go, I'll take you, Madam Emily." "Oh Brian, how did you slice off Kelt's ear? That was too amazing." Han Shao discovered that the Dark Mantle had chosen their hideout quite carefully along the way. The leafy fauna grew everywhere and there were plenty of random rock outcroppings to hide behind. This place was perfect for the Dark Mantle members who were adept at concealing themselves. All sorts of alarm mechanisms were set up starting from where Wallace had been stationed. These were made by hand and employed some magic elements in them as well. They appeared very adorable and practical. Han Shao learned that these had all been made by Cecilia. Although the curious Chrissy kept asking about Kelt's destroyed ear, Han Shao didn't say much more on this matter. He took the attitude of neither confirming nor denying things. When he saw Emily, the latter repressed the agitation in her heart with great effort and spoke with the dignity befitting her situation. "Thank you, Chrissy. I'd like to discuss with Brian the matters of this mission alone." "All right then, Madam Emily," Chrissy responded with disappointment, casting a longing look at Han Shao before she left. remember to tell me the details next time. I really want to know what happened with that. No problem, I'll tell you next time. Thank you, Chrissy. Han Shao responded with a friendly smile and then walked with Emily towards a cave. Apart from the lush growth of the red banana-shaped leaf plants around this area, there were also some small caves. It looked like Emily was temporarily taking residence in one of the caves. Perhaps she didn't want other people to see them, as she avoided some of the caves with sounds coming out of them and walked to a remote corner. You little bastard has started tempting other girls again. You have me and Phoebe, isn't that enough for you? Emily immediately pinched Han Shao halfway when she saw that there were no other voices cursing him in a low voice. Han Shao felt quite aggrieved as he laughed wryly. When he saw Emily let go out of fear of hurting him, he explained, "It's not like what you think. I only met her on the way and had her take me to come find you." HMPH. Emily looked at Han Shao distrustingly. Then what was she talking about? What details and what explanation? She wants to know how I killed Kelt's green dragon and sliced off his ear? Han Shao responded honestly. What? You did it? Emily was startled as she looked at Han Shao incredulously. Nodding, since Han Shao had no secrets in front of Emily, he said, "It was indeed me." Chapter 340, The Upside Down Gourd Mountain. No wonder Kelt has captured and killed 3 of our members during this time. He must have heard from Castle that it was you who saved us last time. Kelt should already know your identity by now. The traitor druid Castle had been pursuing Cecilia and her group when Han Shao had suddenly rushed out to block him. After returning to the Redbud Knights, Castle must have reported the situation to Kelt. As many members of the Dark Mantle knew of Han Shao, the 3 captured must have revealed the truth under Kelt's torture. If that's the case, I'd also like to use this opportunity to kill Kelt. I'm sure he has yet to recover from his injury. Now is the best time to go for it. Han Shao's voice was as cold as the tundra wind. He was determined to destroy his enemy at the roots. You're right, Kelt indeed hasn't recovered, but because of this he is now heavily protected by the guards. The Redbud Knights are one of the top 10 knight troops on the continent, and Kelt and Cassil aren't its only experts. This time I heard that the Fire Grand Magus Marso had also come along. That old woman's too powerful and extremely difficult to deal with. Fearing that he had taken this matter too lightly, Emily hurriedly told Han Shao everything about the Redbud Knights. Han Shu's lips curved into a disdainful smile as he replied that Fire Grand Magus is already dead, so she won't be posing a threat anymore. No worries there. Emily was once again stunned when she heard these words. She stared blankly at the confident Han Shao, trying to feel him out. You killed her too? Nodding his head, Han Shao said, yup, still me. Emily was speechless. Pulling Emily into his embrace, Han Shao whispered with a grin, I haven't seen you in a long time and I've really missed you too much. Bringing me to this remote corner is it that you want me to? Hey. Han Shao's hands started misbehaving as he clung to Emily. Panting softly under his skillful hands, her eyes turned soft as she petulantly proclaimed, I only intended to discuss business quietly, don't misunderstand. I've already misunderstood. Han Shao let out a low growl, picked up Emily and ran straight into the cave. The sound of suppressed panting and moaning echoed out from inside moments later. After a long while the two walked out from the cave, their clothes still a little messy. Emily's eyes were watery moist with a charming subservience. Her soft body leaned on Han Shao as she spoke with a hint of worry. Cecilia is in charge of this mission. She seems to have some prejudice against you. What should we do? It doesn't matter. My mission and yours don't conflict, and I have no intention of taking credit from her. I only need to kill Kelt, then go see if I can get any magic crystal ores. Han Shao didn't care about Cecilia's impression of him, nor did he hold any goodwill towards her. If it wasn't for Emily being on her team, he wouldn't have blocked Cassil from pursuing them last time. Emily heaved a sigh and said to Han Shao, Cecilia is actually a very nice person. She is friendly with everyone, and my private relationship with her is even better. I don't know why she would be like this towards you. Let's not talk about this anymore. I need to go to the mine. If anything happens, as long as I know you're still here, I'll come for you. Rest assured that no one will find me if I don't want them to. Han Shao had obtained all the necessary information from Emily and didn't intend to stay any longer. He was ready to go explore inside the magic crystal mine by himself. The Dark Mandal's purpose in taking a trip to the Dark Forest this time was to observe the movement of the Redbud Knights of the Brute Merchant Alliance. The higher-ups of the Empire naturally needed a clear grasp of what the Redbud Knights were doing at the border of Lancelot Empire. Cecilia was in charge of matters outside the border, so she had taken on this important mission. Her reports were needed to slowly unravel the intentions of the Redbud Knights. Magic crystal mines were a scarce resource for any country. However, the underground world held all kinds of races and their numbers were countless, almost beyond imagination. As such, the higher-ups of the Lancelot Empire didn't intend to keep their knowledge of this mine to themselves. They only hoped to disrupt whatever the Redbud's Knights were planning and gain enough of an advantage to obtain some magic crystal ores. When the Redbud Knights advanced into the underground world, they'd vanished without a trace after a tragic defeat at the magic crystal mine guarded by the lizardmen. However, according to Emily, they had yet to leave the underground world and seemed to have started plundering the other races down here. Various races held sway over different regions in the underground world. The Dark Elves possessed a great number of dark magic equipments. The Merpeople territory was rich with a variety of beautiful crystals, and other strange races had various rare resources. Exploring the underground world was the same as entering a hunting ground to Kelt. All of the races of this world had become his prey except for the setback at the magic crystal mine where the lizardman hindered his army. The valuables of the other races were all his for the taking. The vast underground world covered an enormous area. Even the Dark Mantle with its large manpower and secure base couldn't find any trace of the Redbud Knights. Han Shao naturally wouldn't waste his time on them. He was interested in the magic crystal mine and even more curious about the powerful entity that lived within it. He wanted to know how it could force Kelt, a foe armed to the teeth, to retreat empty-handed. Han Shao nimbly made his way through the lush shrubs of the lizardman territory like a lightly flying insect. Numerous caves were hidden in the various crevices of the area. Thanks to his powerful consciousness coupled with a unit demon covering the area, Han Shao didn't rouse the attention of a single lizardman. He flew all the way to the innermost line and stopped only when he reached a reddish-brown mountain with a bald top. The underground world didn't go without light all year round. Various glowing plants grew on top of the 1,000-meter-high rock wall covering the underground world in a soft dim light. The reddish-brown bald mountain was roughly 200 to 300 meters high. No other plants or animals resided on it except for some reddish-brown rock. Looking from afar, this mountain was like an upside-down gourd, wide at its peak and leaner further down. This made one worry if the slender mountain foot could bear the weight of the two heavy gourd-shaped spheres of rock. Many large and small caves could be seen dotted across this bald gourd mountain. None of them betrayed their depths, seemingly bottomless and leading to who knew where. Several reddish-brown lizardmen with weapons in hand were cautiously guarding the caves, alert against the possibility of the Redbud Knights invading them again. There were many messy footsteps, several uneven potholes, and some shrubs with scattered leaves around the mountain as if they had been cut across by a sharp knife. Looking at this scene from the outside, Han Shao understood that this place must have been the location of the battle. He examined the area minutely, brainstorming a method to infiltrate the magic crystal mine. Finally, he summoned the Earth Elite Zombie and had the zombie take him to the depths of the bald mountain to fill out the situation. If he couldn't reach the center of the mine through the Earth Elite Zombie, he would have to think of other ways. As long as the ground was soil, it wouldn't hinder the Earth Elite Zombie. The Earth Elite Zombie appeared along with Han Shao's magic incantation, then disappeared into the earth in the blink of an eye. Through his spiritual connection with the Earth Elite Zombie, Han Shao knew he was slowly advancing to the mine as per his orders. End of part 1 of the chapter. However, the Earth Elite Zombie had yet to draw near the area when suddenly a howl came from within the magic crystal mine. It shook the mountain as if a sleeping monster had been awoken. A strange energy swept into the earth from the mountain, heading straight towards the Earth Elite Zombie. Han Shao could immediately sense the powerful presence within the bald mountain. He quickly assessed the situation and concluded that this was a powerful creature comparable to the Lord of the Flames. The Earth Elite Zombie was still far from the mountain, so Han Shao Sha-O hastily ordered him to retreat. The Earth Elite zombie retreated nimbly like a little eel to Han Sha-O's feet. He jumped out of the earth to Han Sha-O's side without waiting for that strange energy to draw near. Han Sha-O waved the white bone staff in his left hand. A massive black mist appeared wrapping around the emerging Earth Elite zombie, and the white bone staff issued a light breeze. As the breeze gradually dispersed the black mist, the Earth Elite zombie had also disappeared without a trace. Upon reaching Han Sha-O's feet, the strange energy suddenly lost its target and returned to the bald mountain's depths. After the mountain shaking howl, hundreds of lizardmen sprang out from the various caves with weapons in hands, cautiously prepared and ready for any incoming attack. No wonder Kelt failed multiple times. With such a powerful creature guarding the magic crystal mine, this would certainly give him a headache. Han Sha-O muttered to himself, slowly retreating to a darker, more remote corner. He watched the now alert lizardmen from afar, knowing that they had received news of his invasion with the help of that strange creature. With such a powerful creature entrenched in the upside-down gourd mountain, it would be somewhat difficult if Han Sha-O wanted to advance into the mine. This creature had a terrifying spiritual presence. It had even discovered the Earth Elite zombie sneaking in from beneath the earth. As such, Han Sha-O couldn't guarantee if he himself could enter the mine by suppressing his presence. Han Sha-O naturally wouldn't risk it as long as there was a single shred of uncertainty. Not to mention the powerful creature, just the hundreds of lizardmen endlessly appearing from within the mine would leave him hard-pressed. After hesitating for a bit, Han Sha-O temporarily dispelled the idea of sneaking in. He'd wait for the Redbud Knights to arrive to aid Kelt and then decide his next course of action accordingly. Be it Kelt or any other person, as long as their final goal was the magic crystal mine, they would appear again. Han Sha-O fully understood this, so he wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, he remained hiding beneath the rocks, silently meditating while awaiting the arrival of those people. Upon reaching the separate demon realm of demonic magic, one would reach a bottleneck and future progress would become increasingly harder. However, with each realm's breakthrough, the cultivator's power would immediately increase 100-fold compared to before. Chu Kanglan was able to fly to the moon at the mere peak of the Nine Changes realm. Reaching that realm in this world could be comparable to the gods. Han Sha-O only needed to make a breakthrough from the realm of separate demon to carnal, and then take one more step to reach the Nine Changes realm. Unfortunately, starting from the separate demon realm, each realm would composed of many obstacles. Without fortuitous encounters during their cultivation, demonic practitioners would have to spend year after year in hard training before they could take another step forward. According to the memory of Chu Kanglan, Han Sha-O knew that without fortuitous encounters it'd take at least 100 years to advance from the realm of separate demon to the carnal realm. Even 500 years wouldn't necessarily be enough to go from carnal to Nine Changes. No one could say if the cultivator wouldn't go mad with obsession midway through their practice either. As for breaking through from the Nine Changes to the Omen realm, even Chu Kanglan had no clue. Otherwise he wouldn't have kidnapped Han Sha-O, taken him to the moon, and fought the three strong experts to seek a chance of breaking through in the decisive battle. 100 years is really too long. I need to find other ways to do this, Han Sha-O murmured silently, imprinting the information regarding fortuitous encounters from Chu Kanglan's memory in his heart. He would be ready for any opportunity in the future. The so-called fortuitous encounter was simply a place with an enormous amount of demonic chi suitable for his magical cultivation, or swallowing a treasure nurtured by heaven and earth for hundreds of millions of years. It could also mean refining magical treasures and then using those to nourish the demon infant. There was also the method of devouring fellow demonic cultivators. Sitting cross-legged behind a rock, Han Sha-O considered the feasibility of these fortuitous encounters, as well as some other things, such as the way to cultivate both magic and demonic magic together. After a few days passed unknowingly, Han Sha-O's mind brightened as he suddenly thought of a new idea. The last time he fought Kasi, the latter had destroyed much of Han Sha-O's necromancy magic with his divine artifact revelation. The undead creatures and acid bog had all dissipated after being purified under the holy light. To a necromancer like Han Sha-O, this was simply a fatal blow. Had it not been for Han Sha-O's practice of demonic magic that allowed him to use mysterious methods to create 5 divine elemental zombies, he would have lost the fight against Kasi and the Knights. The reason why the Church of Light and the Calamity Church were so afraid of Han Sha-O was that his little skeleton and creatures didn't fear light magic. Han Sha-O was planning on honing in precisely on this point. High-ranked undead undead creatures such as the evil knight possessed frightening lethality and attacking abilities, so they weren't too afraid of normal light magic. However, if Kasi used revelation to release the holy light, Han Shao knew that even evil knights would be hard-pressed to avoid serious injury. Necromancers in the Calamity Church actually possessed a long and illustrious history, but due to the effect of holy light on undead creatures, they'd always been at a disadvantage against the Church of Light. Once this rule was broken, Han Shao believed the Church of Light wouldn't be able to hold on to their absolute advantage forever. The Church of Light fears this the most, so I really should leverage this. I have the high-ranked evil knight, and soon I will be able to summon bone demons and old phase zombies. I don't expect them to have the same ability as Little Skeleton or the Earth Elite Zombie. However, if I refine them again with the mnemonic magic secret bone method, then they shouldn't fear the corrosion of light magic anymore, right? High-ranked undead creatures such as the evil knight, the bone demon, and the old phase zombie would be frighteningly lethal without the weakness of holy light. When the Church of Light has to face a never-ending stream of undead creatures fearless in the face of their light magic, won't they be scared to death then? The more Han Shao pondered, the more he understood that this was the fastest way to improve his strength. As long as he successfully created anti-light creatures, Han Shao believed Kasi would meet his maker no matter how many knights he had backing him up. It looks like I need to start experimenting with how to rid the undead of their weakness to holy light upon my return to the cemetery of death this time, Han Shao thought to himself as he made up his mind. At that moment, the yin demon around Han Shao sensed a big group of living creatures coming near. It looked toward their direction and saw some familiar dark elves in addition to the brightly armored red bug knights. Even dark elf Dana, with whom Han Shao had dealings with before, had brought her tribe to follow Celt. Interesting, all of my enemies have gathered, Han Shao muttered, standing up from his cross-legged posture. He was ready to see how this group would deal with the powerful creature residing inside the mountain.